I learned to surf in the 90s. It was not seen as cool. It was seen as something that bums do. They would call me a bum for being a surfer. The sport is a bit tainted with people, unstable people with drug and alcoholism problems. Setting that aside, where I grew up is Venezuela. It had many political turmoils. It was never really like a safe political place. It was always a drama. So to be able to go to the beach, you would have to go through police controls, police checks. Even though I lived in the city, I managed to escape from my high school. I would have to escape from school, have my board hiding in someone else's car, get the board, go into the bus, take the bus to the highway where I would step down of one bus, climb in the highway, and just either hitchhike or get another bus that goes to the port. Halfway to the port city, I would tell the boss, "Hey, let me here out." In pretty much in the first beach coming from the city. This is like a 20-minute ride, and I would do it with my friends. And that would be like the every swell surf adventure. So in Venezuela, there's not much swell. So every time there's waves, you have to do whatever you have to do to surf it. Otherwise, you won't surf. So, yes, I'm not saying that all the kids should run away from school. They should go to school and do their diligence. But I was just pursuing my dream and my sport as a really young kid. That was all I was interested in. I wasn't interested in math or geography. I was having enough grades to be able to escape, do my test, and not fail. So I could get away with it. So, no electric bikes, not easy trip to the beach. You would get robbed in the beach. So many times we had to run away from like a 10 people mob that was running towards us. I don't even count the times I would be walking down with my mates with our boards, our equipment, a little backpack for spending the whole day running away from school on uniform sometimes. I remember looking back and seeing people coming out of the bush and telling, elbowing my friends are like, "Hey, let's start running." And everybody turned around like, "Oh no, again." Running our way to the beach. This was just like any common day. That could happen or that could not happen. There's many times we went to the beach. We walked all our way to the beach. It was like a 2 mile walk, especially if we were going to Macuro, which is the beach where I grew up surfing. And we would have to go. It was merciless. First, the bus was gnarly. The bus had like a really loud music. It was totally destroyed. Every time you fall in a hole, everything sounds like boom, 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 boom. Imagine like a bus from India, like a really third world country living war. That was the bus ride to the beach. And then walking 2 miles. And then on the walk, you go through the ghetto. This is where the kids from the bush are, surprising us. And then we will have to go through this gnarly swamp that it was like a sewage that we would call it la Poceta. And then we will have to walk across this salina, a salt mine. Yeah. We would walk the salt mine and then we would arrive to Macuro. This was the longest walk, but the best wave. This was a reef break. And yeah, it's one of my favorite beaches that I have in Venezuela. And there was a moment where it was trendy, and everybody in town in Valencia would go to Macuro, and then you wouldn't need to walk the sewage and the salt mine because you would hitchhike. There would be all the time people, especially on the weekends, and we would also give ride to the people on the way. So it was a common thing to get a ride. No complaints. Sometimes we had to do everything hard, no rides, people trying to rob us, the boss really crappy. But overall, this was going to the beach for me. This was my growing up going surfing in Venezuela. It was really hard. You really would have to love this sport. It's not like today where you have easy access to the beach, no one is robbing you, there's parking lot, showers. Not that I'm against it. I love this, especially like in Australia where the accommodation for any surfer is perfect. You have showers, you can change, you have bathrooms. Beautiful. I love it. But it was not like that growing up for me back in the day. And I don't think it is that case in Venezuela. I think it's still rough from someone from Valencia. I don't see a generation of relevo. How would you say relevo? Like the next generation is non-existent. I don't see any kids leaving school to go to the beach in Venezuela. Honestly, I don't see it. And even when I grew up, it was a group of us, like George, Gregory, Jan Saul, El Albino, Gabriel, my brother. I don't know, a few others that I forget, Hans, all the people that we know who we are. And that was it. That was my generation in the 90s. In the 2000s, I had a car and I was old enough to drive, and I wouldn't need to take the bus, and I would not be in school. I would just be focused on my career as surfer. But how about I don't see any generation younger than me doing the things that I do. I would have loved to see them because I would have given them the ride and I would shape them some boards. But yeah, there's no next generation for the sport of surfing in Venezuela. Maybe there is, but only in like some towns, very specific, not from Valencia, not from where I'm from, coming from.